Sup everybody, this is Karak with ACG, the Bearded Shaman of Gaming, once again trying to stave off the mediocrity of normal life with a little injection of digital wondery in the form of another review for another day for another system. And today's review is for Dex for the Xbox One and PS4, a game that mixes a little bit of Metroid, a little bit of Double Dragon, and splashes in a helping of Deus Ex. And yes, there is more than just the similarity of the game's name and that game here. In Dex you play in a futuristic world of 2D exploration, and you take on the mantle of, well, Dex, a woman who can somehow jack into the network without a physical jack. That's right, she's on the Verizon Wireless, and for some reason this futuristic world is taken completely surprised by that, and she's somehow the Messiah. After a midnight escape from the world's worst assassins, you're quickly informed that the world around you isn't as you knew it, and it's your job to, well, do a series of jobs for another secretive AI known as Raycast. It's a convoluted and dark and depthy story in a city known as Harbor Prime. You take on all manner of quests, leveling up, learning new skills, threatening everyone, stealing anything not nailed down, and smashing Apple IIe parts all over your body and calling them upgrades. And basically, that's just it. You take the city by storm. Let's see how this 2D RPG platforming beat 'em up based in the future did, shall we? As always, if you like this video, maybe subscribe. So here's the review for Dex, gaming's second worst quick save system, Geometry Wars the hacking game, and a world so chock full of condom machines there's no rubber left for car tires. And of course, graphics are up first. Dex eschews the normally elegant and I think somewhat personalized first-person view that many gamers are accustomed to in these kind of titles, like Hard Reset Redux, the later Metroids, and of course Deus Ex. I was pleasantly surprised to find this sprawling sewer to stretching to the sky kind of city here, with a network of unlockable shortcuts, interesting areas, and unique locales throughout. This really isn't at all what I expected in a city, though something you can quick travel through is well worth exploring and understanding, as sometimes quick travel might put you at the wrong end of a town square, while just running there might actually indeed be faster. Sadly, it is interrupted at a continuous pace by loading screens between areas. The game does what it can, and the city is individually a character itself, but sadly, due to interruptions, it's sort of a stuttering loading mess of one. But while sadly load-heavy, it's the characters and the makeup of the levels themselves that excels. Characters are engaged in all manner of activity as you travel the town. Imagine Double Dragon as envisioned by gamers today, with the main action happening across a painting of mature life going on around you. Women of the night raise in skirts in telltale, tantalizing fashion, while dogs run for their lives from those bent on probably getting a good meal. I mean, even down to the folks sitting at the sex bar known as Aphrodite, their junk just hanging out for the world to see. Dex offers a very unique, natural, and mature way in which the world is presented, and I love it. There is a lack of caution in the world's characterization, however, but it works here. Instead of that more thematic poise to the purpose that some games show, this is a world that has sort of taken off its clothes, and you can see the scars underneath. It does very little to hide what's there, and normally that could be a weakness in a game's storytelling, trading stylistic sort of shouting for subtlety. But when done right, as it is here, you have a very, very unique looking and feeling location that separates itself from, let's be honest, the fictions it cribs from. Now, sadly, animations and effects aren't always the best. While scrolling, there is some delay in the busy areas, and honestly, when fighting, which is probably one of the game's main activities, even the high-up skills like uppercuts and spin kicks to opponents' ankle bones look stiff. In fact, to be brutally honest, all the movement aside from running sort of does. It's not shockingly bad, but seeing a character who supposedly knows all these martial arts skills move and run like they're in a goddamn back brace can be really odd. Also, traversal, especially up and down steps, can be an acquired taste. Sometimes you have to walk up a flight of steps only to sort of leap off them because going straight just didn't work. As a package, the environment is this eclectic field of electric signs, interesting characters, and one of the more living and breathing 2D worlds that I've seen in a long time, and the characters themselves are overall fantastic, right up until the main character moves. Sound, music, and voice. course, sound is up first. Sadly, much of Dex is without environmental audio at all, making most locations feel really sonically dead when it comes to interaction. Aside from hearing some cars occasionally pass by and some characters walking along and hearing their steps, many places are just dead silent, which is absolutely a goddamn shame. While guns do a pretty good job and have a robust middle and lower end, it's other places where the game continues to fall flat. I mean, this is probably the first game where punching someone nets you the terribly muddy sound that has to be a mix of someone slapping a shoe against a table, another person squirting out the contents of a turkey baster, and a third person just yelling into a microphone. At some point, seriously, at some point, people, we're going to have to start sharing resources for good, solid Foley work when it comes to offering sonically satisfying 2D fight sounds. As it is, it's a lot of pretend whistles through the air of punches that hit with the force of someone throwing a goddamn noodle at your face. As a package, sound, not very good. Music. I adore this heady techno, the likes of which we would expect in any game that wants you to envision a female Neo running around a Blade Runner world while double dragoning other humans into the earth. It's really good stuff. Ambient and synthy. Specific locations also have their own fare as well, and my hat's off to the hilariously but so well-placed Metallica-inspired gun owner. Walking in and hearing those chords and seeing his setup put a smile on my face. That was awesome. This is really when music solidifies a location with the graphics and does a great deal to make any one spot in a game feel real. Also, the fact that they were able to mix in a number of overall stylings of music without feeling too forced was noticed and certainly appreciated. I would say, good music. And that, of course, brings us to voice, and there is a ton. Let me make sure you understand, almost everyone in this game who talks has a metric shit ton of speech going on, and the fact that for the most part, not all, but for the most part, it's excellent truly shocked me. Now, sadly, one of the main characters you deal with certainly seemed the worse for wear when his parts came up, eliciting all the reaction of an eye twitch when he spoke. Everyone else, though, from the pretty thing comments of the gun store owner to the deep conversations about journalistic threat you share with a later coworker, are really done spectacularly well. Now, one thing to remember, Dex mostly only speaks in the cutscenes, leaving her somewhat silent during normal conversations, and that works good enough. All in all, excellent voice. Gameplay. So the story starts out with you finding out that you might be the only one person who can jack into the network without needing a physical connection. Now, hilarity of that aside, you're quickly working with a small team of hackers and a growing network of contacts running back and forth within the city, sneaking, slicing, shooting, smashing, and selling everything not nailed down. When finishing quests or killing bad guys, you get XP, which can then be used to buy skills that help you both in the real world, like health, but also in the virtual space, like skills that let you hack enemies or get back some of your hacking power quicker. But unfortunately, it's some of this other stuff where Dex falls flat on its face. First, the hacking minigame plays out like the world's most cumbersome Geometry Wars clone, with boring level design, enemy design, and overall clunky control, which is surprising as this is the only time in the entire game when control really matters. Basically, you fly around as a blue blob shooting red blobs until you find a green blob. No matter what you're doing, it all sort of boils down to that. Getting to green means you can hack it, maybe read someone's email and stuff like that. It's really rote and sorely lacking compared to the overall worldview in which it presents itself as being incredibly important. It's basically like saying, hey, look, let's hack into NORAD, one of the most secure places in the world, and then basically just sort of spin around like Hugh Jackman did in Swordfish and with just about as much difficulty. Luckily, back in the real world, it's RPG moments and thematic purpose that encapsulate what makes Dex excellent, from charisma-based lies and threats to the intricate webs of adult stories you uncover. Dex really isn't afraid to introduce you to someone being groomed for sex slavery, or a prostitute who promises you up and down that you're the best she ever had, or have a condom machine on every corner like there's a straight-up epidemic of street-side fornication occurring. These thematic elements, though, plus some of those of human transformation, the past smashing headlong into the future, and man's traditions, are all here in full force and done spectacularly well. Luckily, the RPG elements are spread around a pretty large overall world, one with hidden verticality and some excellent gameplay elements to get you to them. Now, one of these elements is using your augments to get to places you can't at the start. Augments are cyborgish enhancements that you begin to unlock once you complete its mission, and some of these are fairly gameplay changing. For example, high jump isn't just a word here. When you turn that augment on, you are turned into a human mechanized pogo stick, finding items you could never have done before. Or my favorite, which was a toxic mask add-on, which allowed me to go through shortcuts and find new areas I couldn't before. Or stealth suits that allow you to be completely invisible in some locations for up to 8 seconds. For me, a game like this, especially 2D, needs a good complexity to its locations, but it also needs its skills and how they interact in the obviously truncated world to all make sense. Dex pretty much has that, whether it's finally hitting that jump and meeting a monk on a roof you never even knew was there, or hacking a terminal after ducking through an entire city's worth of fart gas so that you could not only turn off enemy turrets, but also find out some juicy secrets. The depth here, it's just right. But not all is perfect. Battle is usually just descending into a very rote enemy pattern recognition. very rote, like punch punch, kick, block block kind of stuff. Additionally, sadly, the guns in the game, of which there are an acceptable number, do some serious damage, but use an aiming state that I just like to call, well, I hope shit works out. Because seriously, even though the game draws a line from your barrel to where you're supposedly shooting, it, like many others, seems to be using the angst-causing hold the thumbstick where you want to aim gameplay system, and here it feels like there are maybe 6 to 8 points of reference for the aiming, meaning it's bipping and bopping and booping from a dude's ball sack to his neck without warning, and that really matters when it means the difference between shooting a dude 3 times in his party deck or 1 time in his neck, and you need all the ammo you can get. As a complete package, honestly, I'd say that Dex comes across exactly as it is, a mix of unique elements to offer a very unique gameplay experience with all of the positives that could offer, but without cleaning off some of the problems that it brings. And of course, that brings us to fun factor. I had a really good time. Listen, it's just sort of cool to play a callback game like this and be surprised by the depth of voice acting, the deep RPG moments, and the complexity of the city. It all felt like a perfect little mix. It was fun to look around and notice small things like the class of citizenry in one area degenerating down as you move further and further downtown. While the control is not wonderful, it does work, but I won't lie, it bothered me more than a couple times, and there were some other issues here and there. But as a whole, it was just a very fun game to partake in. So I rate games on a buy, wait for sale, rent, or never touch it again rating scale. This is a buy, though it does have some problems. It offers 12 to 16 hours of gameplay, which is good, and it's very rewarding. Has a nice little story all by itself and a world with some uniqueness to it, which can't really be said of other games that sort of try to fit the same genre. It's not perfect, but it does try to do some things perfectly, and like the character herself, it may not come out unscathed, but it does a pretty good job all the way through of being really, really interesting. So that's it for me, another review down. I hope you guys liked it. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Maybe check out the Reddit. For sure, check out the Patreon. Maybe join us on a podcast, what have you. As always, peace out and enjoy the rest of your week.